तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं शरवणमङ्गलं शुभदाततं भुवनन्ति भूरिदा जना. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome, everyone, to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're starting a new chapter. This is chapter 30. It's page 579, and the chapter title is The Master in Various Moods. Thursday, October 2nd, 1884. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room at Dakshineshwar. Latu, Ramlal, Harish, and Hazra were living with him in the temple garden. Baburam spent a day or two with him now and then. Latu, we know, became Swami Atmajnanananda. Ramlal, Sri Ramakrishna's nephew. Harish was a householder, but who had some strong feeling of renunciation. He stayed for some time in the temple garden, and Hazra, of course, who was there also. Baburam is our Swami Premanand. Baburam spent a day or two with him now and then. Later, of course, he'll move in and stay there more or less permanently. Manilal Malik, Priya Mukherjee, and his relative Hari, a bearded Brahmo devotee from Shibpur, and several Marwari devotees from Calcutta were in the master's room. Manilal was an old member of the Brahmo Samaj. His name will come up many times. He was very fond of Sri Ramakrishna. And his Priya Mukherjee, he and his brother, the two Mukherjees, they also come quite often. It is a Hari, maybe the first time coming. And we don't know who this bearded Brahmo devotee was. The master to Manilal and the others. It is wise to salute a person mentally. What need is there of touching his feet? Mental salutation doesn't embarrass anybody. Now, did I discuss this before? Huh? Did it come up in an earlier chapter? I'm trying to. Huh? I did once. Yeah. Anyhow, let me go through this a little bit because this is a confusing question for many people. First of all, we have to understand the context that he's saying this to Manilal and the others. Manilal was a member of the Brahmo Samaj. This wasn't the custom for the members of the Brahmo Samaj to bow down. This making pranam, first of all different parts of India it's done differently. That some places in the south, everyone will just go flat, Sashtanga pranam. Other places they'll bend half down. Some they'll bend down and touch their head. Some will touch the feet. Some won't touch the feet. All different types of things. When I first went to India, it was very confusing, and when to do it and whom to make pranam to. In our order, it's customary for those who are junior. That means in terms of sannyasi, to make pranam to those who are senior. But when you do it all the time. And now it's become much less common. I've seen they're just pranam Maharaj, like that. But anyhow, this was a big question at that time also, because we'll find there's Dr. Sharkar, for example, who had a tremendous objection to this practice of touching the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. Why? Because he thought that it'll go to his head, that he'll become egotistical, something like that, and that there was something wrong about it. So he had a great objection to it. To make pranam to Sri Ramakrishna and to make pranam to others, these are two different things. Or the Holy Mother. First of all, this question always comes up. Do they take on all of our bad karma? We make pranam to them, this and that. What if we're not pure in heart? We know Thakur, every once in a while, if he's not ready for it, some impure person will touch his feet and he'll jump up. So all of these questions come, and it becomes a very overly complicated. So Sri Ramakrishna just saying this to Manilal, wise to salute a person mentally. On the other hand, that touching the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, this is one of his ways of transmitting spirituality through the touch of his feet. Yeah, some touching his feet, or he would put his foot on somebody's knee or something, very rarely on somebody's chest or even on somebody's head, very rarely like that. And then the question comes up that, oh, what if we're not pure enough to do it? Yeah, now for most of us, we can't tell who's touching and who's not touching. That sensitivity is not there. In the case of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, is a different story. With the Holy Mother, we have a very nice instance of Sister Nivedita that she would take a handkerchief and touch it to the feet of Holy Mother, making pranam. She didn't, and some of the others were just so awed by her purity that they would rarely go and make pranam to Holy Mother. The Swami Brahmananda, his whole body would be shaking and covered with perspiration when he went to make pranam to Holy Mother. That just and to stand before such radiant purity and spirituality seemed to be too much for him. And as Swamiji also, coming in back from the West, he'll sprinkle himself with Ganges water first and everything. So anyhow, it becomes a question when to make pranam, who to make pranam to, who likes to take pranam, who doesn't, that it becomes an unnecessary thing. So everybody should do whatever they feel comfortable with. Some, of course, make a show of it. That is also not a good thing. So in some of our early Swamis, Swami Ashokananda, he wouldn't allow Westerners to make pranam. He said, this isn't your custom. Nothing to do with pure or impure. He said, this isn't your custom, is to shake hands. He would shake hands with them. So, this becomes, sometimes it becomes a big issue. Devotees get confused, and who likes to take pranam, who doesn't, all of these things. So, best for people just to do what they're comfortable with. No one should feel that they have to do this or that. And I tell people sometimes here that our custom is when you first come and when you leave. If you stay for a week in the center, you won't make pranam every day. And that's when you come and when you leave, unless it's president or vice president or something. So anyhow, this I thought I would mention it again. I remember talking about it one time, but since it came up, so this isn't the advice that Thakur will give to his own direct disciples. So we have to look at the context, because the Manilal was a member of the Brahmo Samaj. Now with Keshav, that after the first couple of meetings, the first time he went with folded hands like that, Keshav and others, and Thakur himself would make pranam to them. He would bow down, touch his head to the ground to teach them how to properly greet a holy man. So it's we have to look at everything in the context, and but it shouldn't be an issue with people. People should do whatever they feel comfortable with. Then Thakur goes on, the attitude that my religion alone is right and all other religions are false is not good. I see that God himself has become all these, men, images, and shalagram. I see one alone in all these. I do not see two, I see only one. Now, the Brahmos they had their strong opinions about things. They weren't fanatical. They weren't like everybody has to become a Brahmo. This is the only true religion. But they did have their strong opinions about things. And they definitely did not like, say, image worship. Yeah. So Thakur, he'll do it on both sides. Those who are dead against image worship, and especially Vaishnava tradition, those who love all highly devotional types of things, and have a little fanaticism towards there. He'll try to balance. He always tries to balance things out. Yeah, we have to really look at the context very often. That I look at many of the things that Thakur says as correctives. For example, when he seems to be not very much in favor of social service work, is generally talking to the Brahmas who do too much of it. That's the beginning and end of their religion for many of them. So it's kind of a corrective. When he sees people who are miserly, he'll say, "No, you have money, you have to give in charity and help." So everything is a balance, and we have to always look at that context. So many people think that their opinion alone is right and others' opinions are wrong, that they alone have won and others have lost. But a person who has gone forward may be detained by some slight obstacle, and someone who has been lagging behind may then steal a march on him. In the game of Golokdham, one may advance a great deal, but still, somehow, one's piece may fail to reach the goal. Yeah, this is simply saying that we shouldn't judge anybody's spiritual progress, who is more spiritual and who is less, or to think that we're greater than others, or even to think that others are greater than us. That these are all in our eyes. We don't know how to judge these things, and we don't know who's going to make great advances in spirituality, who's going to have some fall or anything like that. So it is good to have some humility with regard to these things. Triumph or defeat is in the hands of God. We cannot understand his ways. You must have noticed that the green coconut remains high in the tree and is exposed to the sun, but still its milk is cool. On the other hand, the panifal remains in the water, but when eaten, it heats the body. Panifal is water chestnut. Water chestnut. Yeah. Yeah, really, these are attitudes meant to give us a sense of humility. That if we think we're greater than somebody else, that we'll be put in our place somehow. If we look down upon other people, they may turn out to be better than us. And just whether we take these things literally or not. See, we have our theories of karma also. Triumph or defeat in the hands of God. It's also in our hands to a certain extent. Ultimately, nothing is in our hands. But so these are meant to give us just a little bit of humility. If we're successful, a feeling of gratitude. Yeah. And if we're not successful, then acceptance. Yeah. So these spiritual attitudes are very important. How to learn acceptance when things don't go our way, and how to learn gratitude and humility when things go our way, because they won't always, and we don't know when. Yeah. Look at the body of man. The head is the root, and it is at the top. Manilal. What then is our duty? Master, now we have to remember also that this Manilal is not a young man at this time. So the advice that Thakur gives to those who are older is also different. That he'll tell them, you've had enough of this and that. That advice to the Ishan, we have that chapter. He spent many years of his life doing arbitration and helping people and doing this and that. And so Thakur says, the time has come for you to call on God. So he says to Manilal, to remain somehow united with God, there are two ways, karma yoga and mano yoga. So we can say karma yoga and jnana yoga. Now, is this the only division that we have? And could he have said something else? Yeah, we'll find later that he'll talk about bhakti yoga and jnana yoga as the two main options. This karma yoga and jnana yoga, or mano yoga, this fits in more with the early sections of the Veda, the Karma Kanda, and the later sections, Upanishads and others, Jnana Kanda, and also with the stages of life, where the householder stage of life, we have to do our karma, and then retired stage of life, and then we give up mostly that type of duty and try to call on God. Householders practice yoga through karma. Now, for Sri Ramakrishna, and this is another thing, that Sri Ramakrishna uses karma in many different senses. That very often for him, karma means ritual. So sometimes it'll sound like he's not much in favor of karma yoga, but then it'll turn out that it means being too involved in ritualistic type of worship and other things, rites and rituals and everything. Not so much this selfless action and serving God and others. That'll be a different type of thing. Here, it seems to be that karma will be dharma, whatever duties we have as householders, that has to be performed during this stage of life. So that'll be their yoga. Not that a householder doesn't do spiritual practice, but performance of duty, of dharma for the householder is also tapasya. This is also sadhana. There are 4 stages of life: brahmacharya, garhasthya, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. Okay, this is a very traditional belief that's found in the early scriptures, dharma shastras, and other things, in the smriti, that everything is, life is broken down into different stages. How much this was followed, we don't know. Was this restricted to the upper caste? Because sannyasa could have been restricted, but anyhow, as a scheme of life, it's beautiful and it's brilliant, and it corresponds very much to the 4 aims of life, purusharthas, and also to the 4 sections of the Vedas. So we have this scheme. So in the stage, brahmacharya stage, this is the student stage of life, where one has to lead a very pure type of life, where one gets trained in dharma, and also one will be a householder in some trade, some skill, something like that. But they have to learn dharma at this point, so that everything, once they take to family life, that they won't be overcome by this longing for possessions and enjoyment and everything. So dharma will be the main thing, but also the highest teachings of spirituality at this stage, because the brahmacharya stage, this was often when and unfortunately many of these things were for boys and not the girls. When the boys would go into the forest and live with the guru and serve the guru and get teachings in the scriptures and things. If they're Brahmin boys, then they'll have to learn the Vedas and memorize things and do all of those things. Then garhastha, grihastha. So the grihastha, this will be in the old tradition. It doesn't seem like there was any of this child marriage. That seems to be something that came later. Sometimes we hear 25 years for each one. So they should be have reached a state of maturity somehow before becoming householders, and then kama and artha become the 2 aims of life that are relevant to the householder, guided by dharma, with the ultimate gain of moksha. That'll always be there, the final stage of life. So this stage of life, the householder stage of life, householder is supposed to accumulate wealth, not overly, not too much, but to look after the family and to help society, and to fulfill dharmic desires. So to have children, to have a family, and to reach the end of desire. This is the stage of life where one gets to experiment and to see what is really of the greatest benefit in life, what is the most helpful thing. What do we say is prayas, of less value, and what is shreyas, what is the most important thing. But Thakur talks very much. I mention this term very often because I think it's important. Bhoganta, that nothing happens in spiritual life until we reach the end of enjoyment. And we do it somehow, sometimes by just not engaging in things, and sometimes by fulfilling desires. And we have to be able to know, but they have to be dharmic desires. It can't be a desire to hurt anybody or to do anything immoral or illegal, unethical. But we have to know what things we can fulfill in order to eliminate, and what things simply increase our desire. Pouring ghee on the fire, have to put it out. The things that increase our desire, we just have to say no. However we can do it. The other things, we can fulfill them and say, okay, I've done that. And to me, these are important things. If someone, a householder, at the end of a lifetime can look back and say, yes, I was a good householder, that I raised a family, that I provided for my wife and children or husband, whatever it is, and I was successful in what I did. I created a business. It helped other people. Many people worked under me. The great sense of contentment can come from that. Yeah, we shouldn't belittle that. It's a very important thing. So, for the householder stage of life, the householder has to be very cautious that there's so many traps, and especially those who get a taste for uh, money and power, and enjoyment of all kinds, and it gets out of control, and it rules their lives. It ruins everything. Others can be very sensible about things, and uh, this karma is it's considered legitimate. This is the goal of life that the householder can have, but it has to be unopposed to dharma, aniruddha dharma. It has to be unopposed to dharma, and uh, at the same time, the householder has to have the ultimate goal of life in mind. Everything ultimately is for this final realization or liberation. Yeah. Then the vanaprastha stage, literally one goes out and lives in the forest, literally. This vanaprastha. And husband and wife together, they'll have a little hermitage. They'll give up, turn over everything to the children, and let them run the business or whatever it is, and take over everything, and lead a spiritual life. There are aranyakas. See, each of these, they're books that go along with this. For the sannyasi, it'll be the Upanishads. The early stage of life, it'll be the Brahmanas and the Samhitas. So that we have these three things to go together. But in any event, there comes a time, and as I say, how many did this, we don't know. But there comes a time, like with Yajnavalkya, that he'll say now, and again, it was the men who did it, not the women. he had his two wives, and he said, and now you two decide which you can decide. I'm giving you all the property, that I'll lead the life of a wandering mendicant, and the whole life will be in search for God. So this was that scheme of life that's very beautiful. And then, of course, there's moksha or mukti. This becomes the ultimate goal of life. Yeah. So this is called the purusharthas, these goals of life. Sannyasis must renounce those karmas which are performed with special ends in view, sakama. And of course, all ritual, that these can't be done. That any Vedic type of ritual, these things, even Shraddha ceremony and everything, sannyasis don't do these things. But even in general, that everything should be done as an offering. So in Gita, we have a beautiful section where this whole concept of yajna is treated symbolically, that it's no longer just having a fire and having this yajamana, having the priest and do all of the offerings, reciting all the mantras and everything with an end in view. But everything we do is done as yajna, as an offering, as a sacrifice. Yeah. So the householders allowed to do these kama. Of course, we don't do yajnas anymore, but if they can do it without any selfish motive, then that's even Shankaracharya. So even that can be helpful for the householder. But anything with a selfish motive, this will not be helpful in spiritual life. Sannyasis are united with God by such karmas as the acceptance of the staff. Yeah, at the time of the sannyasa vows, that we have dandi sadhus, they keep the staff. Then there are others who receive the staff but break them and throw them away. But it's one of the signs. You'll see many sadhus that this staff is a very sacred thing for them. They'll always have it. They'll keep it with it. They'll hold it. Yeah. Our particular order, we don't keep the staff. It doesn't. There are stories about why this happened. That one of the acharyas broke his staff or something. I don't. These aren't terribly important. It's not a very important distinction for us. Okay, so sannyasis are united with God by such karmas as the acceptance of the staff, the receiving of alms, going on pilgrimage, and the performance of worship and japa. So with Sri Ramakrishna, we have almost a new category, the grihi sannyasi, the householder who lives like a sannyasi. And it seems that he really wanted to have M be the ideal for that. M had a tremendous longing to take sannyasa formally. And Thakur, said, no, this is not for you. But all the advice that he gives him and everything, we get that impression. And Thakur very often, he says, even in the householder stage of life, for those very advanced souls, after the birth of one or two children, they live like vanaprasthans at that stage, like brother and sister, he says. Yeah. But not for everyone, of course. And it has to be husband and wife has to also be the same spiritual stature for that. Otherwise, it becomes a mess in families. So for Sri Ramakrishna, he had many householder disciples who were very, very so highly spiritual and with the spirit of renunciation and everything, that their lives were equal to the lives of the sannyasis. Nag Mahasaya, we know, of course, especially him. It doesn't matter what kind of action you are engaged in. You can be united with God through any action, providing that performing it, you give up all desire for its result. Many of these things are straight from Gita, that through whatever type of work we do, and this applies to all of the forecasts, because in the same section, that even whatever service that somebody does, this is also worship of God. If we treat it that way, then we can attain to siddhi. We can attain to realization and perfection. So each and every individual, no matter what it is, of course, it shouldn't be, involved too much of lying and cheating and stealing. Yeah. But otherwise, it really, whether one is washing floors or one is treating patients in a hospital, that it's the attitude with which it's done. That's the only thing that matters. Bhavagrahi Janardana. We have this beautiful line from the verse. God only cares for our hearts, the feeling within our heart, and not the type of work that we're doing. The type of work that we're doing, we don't always choose that. In the old system, of course, it was caste, and now circumstance. Family we're born into, school we go to. We don't know exactly how we end up doing the things we do. But it's all attitude. Jeman bhav, tendi labh. Yeah, we gain according to the mood with which we do it. There's the other path. So now he's spoken about karma yoga. He said there are two ways. The other one is mano yoga. This is not a very common term, but we can say in general, it'll be probably jnana yoga and raja yoga combined, something like that. It'll be path of knowledge, which is usually associated with meditation also. Now, meditation can go with all paths, but just a general breakdown, somehow karma and bhakti seem to go together because of the ritual, and jnana and raja yoga and dhyana will go together. That the bhaktis will do more of japa, and the jnanis will do more of meditation. Just in general, there's a bit of a oversimplification, but anyhow. So he says there's another path, mano yoga. A yogi practicing this discipline doesn't show any outward signs. So this will be a particular type of jnani, these Gupta jnanis that won't care for any outer signs. Now, the devotional traditions, for some reason, they love these outer signs. Yeah, they love these outer signs that immediately you see somebody, you know exactly what tradition they're from, just by the way they put marks on their forehead. Yeah, and these are customs and family traditions. It's not that those who have very elaborate things that they're showing off. These are the family traditions. With this Alasingha, when some of the Western disciples were with Swamiji in India. I don't know if it was Nivedita. Huh? Josephine McLeod made some type of comment because it looked odd. These three things, red and white and everything. And Swamiji just said, hands off. Yeah, don't judge things that you don't understand. That this is such a wonderful soul doing so much hard work, and it's their family tradition. That's all. Yeah, but it'll look odd if you've never seen these things before. But this will be more with the devotional traditions. The jnanis, of course, they'll smear ashes sometimes, but they may do nothing also. And of course, there are many Vaishnava tradition. They'll even stamp their body with mantra and wear clothes with the mantra and everything on it. And there'll be others that you have no idea. That'll be the hidden ones. So Thakur is talking about them. A yogi practicing this discipline doesn't show any outward signs. He's also talking about himself. These are the Paramahamsas. He showed no signs. He didn't wear garua. Occasionally, they would give him some garua colored cloth for birthday or something like that. Otherwise, he didn't care for these things. And for a sannyasi to wear shoes in those days was a very odd thing. He had his slippers that he used to wear. And either you grow a long beard and long hair, or you shave everything. Thakur didn't do either. He kept his short hair and a short beard. He kept the beard because his skin was very sensitive. Yeah, he couldn't shave all of the time, and he just didn't care for these things. What he did before as a young man, he continued. That's all. So these are known as the Paramahamsas. The Paramahamsa is noted for not having any outer sign. Not just no outer sign, of course. They have to reach a very high stage of spirituality. So a yogi practicing this discipline doesn't show any outward signs. He is inwardly united with God. Take Jada Bharata and Shukadeva, for instance. The Jada Bharata, this was the king Bharata, who we know the story about how he became terribly attached to a pet deer that came into their little hermitage in the woods. And because of that, his final thought was of the deer, and he had to be born as a deer. And in the next lifetime, he was born as a great sage, uh, with the memory of that earlier attachment and that life is a deer. And he took a vow that he wouldn't speak, and he wouldn't show any signs of even being an normal person, for fear of becoming attached again. So for most of his life, he didn't speak at all. People thought he was dumb. They thought that he didn't have the ability to speak. Jada, so they call him Jada Bharata. There's, I just read it, Rahugana or something. There's a small text. It's very nice. I'd like to find it. Sanskrit text that this some king was going down the street with a palanquin and and four bearers, and one became sick. So they're looking for someone to take his place, and the Jadabharata is sitting like an idiot on the side of the road, and they call him over and say, "You carry it," or something. So he's carrying it, and then somehow some conversation comes. I don't remember. The king asks some questions, and he starts speaking the highest Vedantic wisdom. You know this text?
I don't. It comes in the Bhagavatam.
It's part of the Bhagavatam.
Yes, but I don't know the.
Yeah, it comes as an individual thing. Yeah, these teachings of the Jadabharata, very beautiful. Yeah. So for most of up until that point, at least, he didn't speak. People thought that he just was deaf and dumb or some whatever it was. And then, but inwardly, he was a great sage. Shukadeva, we know, is Vyasa's son. He's always mentioned as the purest of the pure, and always united with God from his very childhood. There are many other yogis of this class, but these two are well known. The feeling is that we won't know these. Really, we call them Gupta yogis, that these will be the ones that remain hidden from us. They may be in our midst. They don't care to be known. They hide themselves. The one example that we have of the direct disciples very often is mentioned is Swami Atmajnanananda, that almost on purpose, he dressed very eccentrically and acted very eccentrically, and the kids would make fun of him and throw things at him, and he wore this long coat with all these different pockets and filled with different things, and 3-4 sets of socks at one time he would wear, in the hot weather and everything. And he would say, "Yes, I'm one of Rama's monkeys." He would laugh and play with them. But they say this was just to hide from other people that he was a man of the highest attainment. So, as Swami Brahmananda also, he would hide behind this, playing cards and fishing and things like that, because the mind was always united with God. So they shave neither hair nor beard. So like Sri Ramakrishna. All actions drop away when a man reaches the stage of the Paramahamsa. He always remembers the ideal and meditates on it. He is always united with God in his mind. If he ever performs an action, it is to teach men. Yeah, this is also another theme from Gita. There's so much in common between the Gita and this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. This Swami Paramesanandaji, Paramesanandaji Holy Mother's disciple, he had a very poetic way of saying things, an interesting way of saying things. He said to one of either a letter, or he said that, there's a modern Bengali translation of the Gita. They said, "Oh, what is it?" He said, "Kotamrita." Yeah. Of course, it's not a translation, but just all of the teachings here really so perfectly aligned with what we find in Gita. Yeah. And that liberal attitude and so many things. So even Sri Krishna, he says, "I don't have to do anything. Why should I do anything in this world? There's nothing to gain by doing things, nothing to lose by not doing things. And yet I act constantly. Yeah. And just to serve as an example to others. Yeah. A man may be united with God either through action or through inwardness of thought. So this goes back to karma yoga and mano yoga. But he can know everything through bhakti. If we're wondering why isn't bhakti mentioned earlier? Yeah, that we can know everything through bhakti. Through bhakti, one spontaneously experiences kumbhaka. That means the breath will stop. This is something that people who practice pranayama that they'll do very systematically. How many times you hold the breath, incoming breath, and then how long you hold it, and how many times it goes out. Uh, but this is all a type of practice meant to lead to a certain type of result. Those who have some type of high spiritual experience, at least for a moment, their breath can stop, and in the state of samadhi, that at least with Sri Ramakrishna, they could barely find any breath coming out. Sometimes I think they'll take a little mirror or something to see if people are still breathing. Towards the end of life, when the breath is so slow, that if there's a little condensation, they'll know there's still. Well, with Sri Ramakrishna, they couldn't tell if there was any breath at all. Couldn't tell if the heart is even beating. That everything slows down so much in that state. So yeah, Thakur very often said that one achieves everything through bhakti, even Brahmajnana, even the knowledge of Brahman, one can get through devotion also. And that also ends up in that same state of oneness. The nerve currents and breathing calm down when the mind is concentrated. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why we're told, and Swamiji says this, that before sitting for meditation, take a few deep, even breaths. Not this pranayama holding and everything. Just breathe in and breathe out because the mind slows down. These work both ways. When the mind is calm, the breath is slower, and when the breath is slower, the mind becomes calm. So, in order to make the mind calm, a little rhythmic breathing, Swamiji says it's very good to start meditation with that. Again, the mind is concentrated when the nerve currents and breathing calm down. Then the buddhi, the discriminating power, becomes steady. The man who achieves this state is not himself aware of it. Yeah, so this is the difference with this practice of pranayama. We do it through our own self-effort. That we count the number of times and we make a point to hold the breath and to let go of the breath. This is just something that comes when the mind goes into a higher state through devotion or through whatever our practice is. One can attain everything through bhakti yoga. I wept before the mother and prayed, "O mother, please tell me, please reveal to me what the yogis have realized through yoga and the jnanis through discrimination." And the mother has revealed everything to me. She reveals everything if the devotee cries to her with a yearning heart. She has shown me everything that is in the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Puranas, and the Tantra. Yeah, Sri Ramakrishna, again, this is another point in common with the Gita, that this the path of knowledge is for those who, from the very beginning, have no sense of attachment to the world, have no interest and no ambition to be successful or famous or anything, that no attachment to anything, burning sense of renunciation. They're the ones who are qualified for this jnana yoga. We utilize jnana yoga, but don't practice it exclusively. Sometimes we are jnana misra yoga, that as the ground for our spiritual life or devotional life. But those who really want to do it and want to follow this idea, this world is nothing. It's a mud puddle, mithya. This mithya word, this doesn't have to mean that it's just this world is some illusion or conjured up in my own mind, but it means the tucha, that it doesn't have any ultimate value. So we say mithya kotha, that people will just speak nonsense or lies or something. So in that sense, that they have to have a feeling that there's nothing in this world that can tempt me and draw my mind away from this longing to have God realization. They're the ones who are qualified for it. The Bhakti Yoga, everyone is qualified. All we need is some sincerity and some purity of heart. Yeah. But this doesn't mean that we shouldn't. This is because the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna filled with the highest wisdom, the highest jnana yoga. Yeah. But always meant to be kept in our pocket. That it'll inform everything we do, but we use that as the ground on which to have a spiritual life and a devotional type of life, if that's our inclination. Now, there are many people who are just, they don't care for personal God. There's more in the Buddhist type or something, and yeah, then of course they'll follow this jnana yoga, but to do it exclusively without taking the help of any type of worship or any type of God with form, or just the nameless, formless, ultimate reality is very difficult. Manilal. And what about Hatha Yoga? Now, the Hatha Yoga, again, we have to understand context. And now we do it for most people to stay healthy and to be able to sit in meditation, to have a body without aches and pains. It's fine, it's good. Many of our sadhus do it. But in Thakur's mind, and in those days, it was done exclusively to get some type of spiritual power or to lead the length of life and to do all sorts of kind of miraculous types of things. We have the instance of this Hatha yogi who came and stayed in Dakshineswar for some time, and he lived on opium and milk and did all sorts of funny things. Yeah, so this is that context. Uh, Nowadays, those who practice yoga and make it part of their spiritual life is good. There's nothing wrong with that. Only if it becomes a bit of a fanatical type of thing. Yeah. So, I mean, it's considered one of the limbs of Ashtanga yoga, Raja yoga. So it's given some importance, but it becomes a discipline unto itself, separate from everything else. Then it becomes too much. The Thakur says. The Hatha yogis identify themselves with their bodies. They practice internal washing and similar disciplines. Yeah, they'll take a cloth and swallow it and go all the way down and then pull it out again, all sorts of funny things. And devote themselves only to the care of the body. Their ideal is to increase longevity. They serve the body day and night. That is not good. Yeah. So we have to, again, understand context, that many people will go and practice yoga, and it's very helpful. It's very helpful to keep the body in good shape. If we sit for meditation and we constantly have aches and pains in the body, this is not a helpful thing. If we can do a little exercise, yogic exercise, is good, it's healthy. What is your duty? You should renounce lust and gold mentally. You cannot look on the world as crow droppings. We'd say, why? Well, Thakur used a phrase like that. These were common expressions. Yeah, yeah. Kakavishtavat. Yeah. So it's not that he's using anything, too unusual or anything, but this is the attitude, or we say the mud puddle, that to look upon this world as a mud puddle. Go about it. This we have in our Kandana, Sampada. So, this simply means that the householder, this path of Jnana Yoga for the householder who has to perform duties has to involve some idea of the value of the world. and the reality of the world. Now, for Sri Ramakrishna and for Swamiji, the sannyasi also has to believe in the value of the world and the reality of the world and the reality of other people and the reality of suffering. Swami's whole life was devoted to I try to eliminate suffering in other people. So it's not meant for those who will say, "Let me go into the forest and just all I want to do is have God realization. This world for me is nothing." Now we can say this world is nothing. We read the Song of the Sannyasin and other things like that, but we have to look at Swamiji's life and what he's constantly telling. Give up everything for the sake of others. Don't do anything, even your own mukti. Have no desire for your own mukti. This sight of people suffering should move your heart so much that all you can think about is how to eliminate it. I'm reading nowadays this book on Swami Atmajnanananda and how he took Swamiji's message to the highest possible degree. And he didn't care for anybody who preferred to sit for meditation and everything rather than work. He spent his whole life with these orphan boys and the children, and that to him was the greatest joy and greatest service and greatest worship to serve them. Yeah. So if we try to have this attitude that this world is a useless thing, there's not any value in it, then what about other people? How do they fit in? Yeah. We say this world is nothing, but we care about other people. Yeah, we can do that if we say that the temptations of the world are nothing. Yeah. But we have to accept the reality of our our situation, not as ultimately true. We may very well reach a stage where we see everything is a play, divine play. Thakur talks about it so much, Leela. But at least in present now, that this attitude will not work for householders, he's saying, especially here. The Gyanis can do it, those few. So he says, what is your duty? He's talking to the Manilal mostly, but the others also. He's a householder. So you should renounce lust and gold mentally. That means have no attachment and don't leave your house, but don't be attached to it. You cannot look on the world as crow droppings. The Goswamis are householders. The Goswamis represent the Guru tradition and the Vaishnava, Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, that they trace their lineage back mostly to Advaita Goswami, but some to Nityananda and others. And this is one of the traditions where greater respect is given to the householders than to the monastic members. They have these vairagis, yeah, that are generally not looked upon so highly, that not so well educated and family-like. But these Goswamis are considered to be the cream of the crop of their tradition, that the most learned and the most pure in heart and devoted to spiritual life and spiritual practice. But they're householders, and they're supposed to be married and have families, and their children become gurus after that. So the Goswamis are householders. Therefore, I said to them, you have your duties in the temple. How can you renounce the world? You cannot explain away the world as Maya. Chaitanya Deva said that the duties of householders were kindness to living beings. So Jividaya, we know these things. Service to Vaishnavas, Vaishnava Seva, and chanting of God's holy name. Namiruchi, we have it. There are different versions of it. Now, in addition to that, there are other duties. These are for the real spiritual seekers. Otherwise, they'll have their job and the duty to neighbors and family and guests and everything. Keshav Sen once said about me, and now he asks us to hold to both, God and the world, but one day he will sting us. No, that is not true. Why should I sting? So That means that he'll draw everybody in by saying, yes, hold on to the world with one hand or hold on to God with the other hand. And then when he has you there, he'll say, now give up the world. Yeah. And of course, gradually he would do that with those who were fit, who would become the future monks. But his ideal was never to have anybody forcefully give up anything. It had to be natural, and to reach that point where the detachment naturally falls away. Manimali, but sir, you do. Yeah, because they hear these burning words of renunciation. Master smiling, how so? You are a householder. Why should you renounce? But the renunciation of the world is needful for those whom God wants to be teachers of men. So Sri Ramakrishna was very, very strong on this point. Although I must say that he appreciated Keshav, and there were some others. He appreciated them, but he always felt that these would not have a long-lasting value. Sometimes he would even say it's like water put on a hot frying pan. It'll sizzle and be gone. Yeah, the very next moment you'll forget what they said. But other times he shows some appreciation. But for those really who are to be of some lasting benefit for others, he felt that they should be those who not only talked about renunciation but lived it, fully lived it. But the renunciation of the world is needful for those whom God wants to be teachers of men. One who is an acharya should give up lust and gold, otherwise people will not take his advice. It is not enough for him to renounce only mentally. He should also renounce outwardly. Only then will his teaching bear fruit. Otherwise people will think, though he asks us to give up lust and gold, he enjoys them himself in secret. Now we'll get a story. A physician prescribed medicine for a patient and said to him, come another day and I'll give you directions about diet. This is a story that people associate with Gandhiji. I think he used to tell this story, but it's much older than that. The physician had several jars of molasses in his room that day. The patient lived very far away. He visited the physician later, and the physician said to him, be careful about your food. It is not good for you to eat molasses. After the patient left, another person who was there said to the physician, why did you give him all the trouble of coming here again? You could very well have given him the instructions the first day. The physician replied with a smile, there is a reason. I had several jars of molasses in my room that day. If I'd asked my patient then to give up molasses, he would not have faith in my words. He would have thought, he has so many jars of molasses in his room, he must eat some of it. Then molasses can't be so bad. Today I've hidden the jars. Now he will have faith in my words. Of course, it's got to be a physician who doesn't take molasses at all, not just hides. Yeah. I've seen the Acharya of the Adi Brahmo Samaj. I understand that he is married for the second or third time. He has grown up children, and such men are teachers. If they say God is real and all else illusory, who will believe them? You can very well understand who will be their disciples. Like teacher, like disciple. Even if a sannyasi renounces lust and gold mentally, but lives with them outwardly, he cannot be a teacher of men. People will say that he enjoys molasses secretly. Once, Mahendra Kaviraj of Sindhi gave 5 rupees to Ramlal. I didn't know about it. Ramlal was, of course, serving him at this time. I didn't know about it. When Ramlal told me about the money, I asked him, for whom was the money given? He said it was for me. At first, I thought that I should use it to pay what I owed for my milk. He had to pay for his own milk. The poor man. But will you believe me? I had slept only a little while when I suddenly woke up, writhing with pain, as if a cat were scratching my chest. I went to Ramlal and asked him again, was the money given for your aunt? That means Holy Mother. Thakur never used her name. He always referred to her as Ramlal's aunt. No, Ramlal answered. Thereupon I said to him, go at once and return the money. Ramlal gave it back the next day. Do you know how it looks for a sannyasi to accept money or to be attached to an object of temptation? It is as if a Brahmin widow who would practice continence and lived on simple boiled rice and vegetables and milk for many years were suddenly to accept an untouchable as her paramour. All look stunned. Yeah, of course, we're modern sannyasis. We don't follow these things the way Thakur did. But this Swamiji and Swami Atmajnanananda again traveled on foot, barefoot, I'm sure, all over Tibet and everything. Never carried any money with them. Yeah, they were real sannyasis. They had that old school sannyasis. Then, of course, in order to do the work of the order that Swamiji wanted, and then some compromise had to come. There was a low caste woman named Bhagiteli in our part of the country. She had many disciples and devotees. Finding that she, a Shudra, was being saluted by people, the landlord became jealous and engaged a wicked man to tempt her. He succeeded in corrupting her, and all her spiritual practice came to nothing. A fallen sannyasi is like that. You are leading householders' lives. It is necessary for you to live in the company of holy men. First of all, the company of holy men, then Shraddha, faith in God. Okay, we'll start with that next week. This is yeah. I think I'm here next week. I think so. Okay, so we're stopping here at the bottom of page 580. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhathudavikraham Ishabhataram Parameshamidham Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Okay. Thank you, everyone.